I must confess, I'm not positive how to introduce this topic other than to say Disney built a walking, talking Olaf. And it's taken social media by storm yesterday, and I felt compelled to do this because I got to talk about this. They have actually built they built a live action Olaf, and it looks so good. It looks so real. It looks amazing, and I don't even know how to comprehend what they did. It feels like they just came out of this out of nowhere. They've been showing us, these little show elements that they've been working on over the past decade or whatever, like the Tinkerbell thing and the Galaxy's Edge robots. But they don't really actually do anything with these things. But Disney has said they built this Olaf. They've created this whole social media thing about it. They're doing interviews with him. They're walking him around the new Frozen Land at Disneyland Paris. And they have said they're going to put this Olaf in the parks in Disneyland Paris and in Hong Kong, where they also have a Frozen Land. I'm just this came out of absolute nowhere, complete left field. Nobody knew that they were working on this. We didn't see any, well, at least I haven't seen any of those specials because they did do what we call an Imagineering episode about this, but that just aired last week, not last year. And surely they've been working on this Olaf robot for years. How do they keep this? Anyway, so here we go. We got this is the Olaf, and the thing that I was noticed immediately. And we'll talk about how this compares to other animatronic type things, but he moves exactly like Olaf does. The gestures are incredibly accurate. That was the first thing that I said in my mind. Look how accurate. Now, given his range of motion in the films, in the Frozen movies, is not exactly wide and varied. He has basically the same. He kind of doesn't move around a lot, not like the way a human would. Again, we're going to talk about that. But it's still incredibly accurate. And maybe that's the trick, is that you have to do these kind of things with animals or with whatever that don't have a very complex range of motion. So there's that. He looks incredibly great. Now, there's this sort of impression that they're giving you in the clips, in the one that they did on Instagram, where it looked like a kind of interview was happening. And it was the texts that were talking about this amazing thing they did. It looks like they're talking to Olaf, but they're not. They're not talking to Olaf. This is not an exchange. They're obviously timing their comments, their scripted comments, with his, with the things that he can say, or that they have programmed. So I don't believe this is going to be a case where you're going to have like meeting a face character at Disneyland, where you can have an exchange, you can have a conversation. Or even like a stormtrooper. It'll be closer to a stormtrooper, I think. Perhaps. Stormtroopers have those canned things that they can say, but all of them are triggered by the stormtrooper making a gesture. Stormtrooper makes a certain gesture. He says a certain thing. I feel like there's going to be a guy, actually. You've seen those robots in Galaxy's Edge, but there's a guy back there, on the sly, moving things around. R2-D2, same thing. It's going to be a guy. It's going to be a guy in the background, probably, controlling all of this. As a matter of fact, in the other, there's been a multitude of uploads from Disney on this, but in this one, taken from the Frozen Land, presumably in Paris, the cast, Imagineers, I'm assuming, are talking to Olaf. He doesn't speak in that clip at all. All he does, it's adorable. He's just walking around. He's looking at them being Olaf, but he doesn't actually speak. It's so cute. I'm watching it right now as I talk about it. He's just off in the background, just walking around while these two talk to each other. Anyway, it's super, super adorable. And but I do want to, I'm just saying, probably hedge your expectations on this. This is not going to be, they want to make it seem like it's a walk-around character, that he's going to be mingling. There's just no chance. There's just no chance. I think. As a matter of fact, they don't call him. They use the term free. It almost sounded like they were saying free roaming, but they're saying free walking, Olaf. A free walking. So that means he can walk independently, as opposed to being a fixed animatronic, in a stationary position where he just kind of moves around. He's actually can walk around, which is really, truly the actual innovation here, is the fact that he can just walk around. But he's going to, I got to think, it seems very unlikely that they would have him out in the wild. If he did, he would just be absolutely murdered by guests because guests cannot be trusted. That's a plain fact. Guests cannot be trusted. There's this whole thing that he can do. He can take off his carrot nose. They show it in different clips. You could take the carrot nose off and then put it back on, and he's like, oh, and he makes a reaction. There's no chance that guests are going to be able to do that. I'm sorry. I just can't see how that's possible because that thing would last 30 seconds. He would last 30 seconds, and you'd probably lose the nose forever. So it's doubtful that guests will be able to actually, interact with him in that way in real life. Most likely it'll be, in a pen. He'll be sectioned off and you'll be able to kind of take yourself, kind of like how you used to do meet and greets during COVID. They would be behind a rope and you take your selfie or whatever. You could just film it. But I can't imagine they would have him walking on the streets of Paris or in Hong Kong. I just can't imagine that. Now, they mentioned in the clip with the Imagineers from Instagram that they used AI to help build this. And before, some people are kind of losing their minds and they're going off into this, oh my God, it's Skynet, and this is the beta version of the T-1000. First they come at you with this nice, cute little, talking robot, and before you know it, it's a man killer. I doubtful anyway, but they mentioned AI as being part of the tool, one of the tools that they use to help build this guy. But it's important to remember that this kind of technology that they refer to as AI has been around for a little while. Actually, what they're doing here, it's reinforcement. It's they feed him programming, and then he learns from it, and then he refines his movements, etc. The AI tech is more about teaching Olaf how to move like Olaf, as we see in the films, which obviously worked really, really well. It's not the voice. The voice is not AI. The interactions aren't. It's not like you're talking like when you talk to chat and you feel like you're having a conversation. It's not going to be like that. It's not that kind of AI, I guess is what I'm saying. It's a different kind of machine learning type situation. I don't. Again, I'll reiterate. I don't expect for you to be able to have a conversation and then he's going to talk back at you. I'm not expecting that. Probably the most likely thing is, or the best case scenario is similar to what you get when you talk to a stormtrooper. But I don't really feel like that's the most important thing. It doesn't really matter what, we meet Mickey and Goofy and Pluto and in the parks. They don't say anything and nobody cares. The most popular meet and greet in the park always is Mickey Mouse. He doesn't say a word. I don't think it's that important that we have a conversation with Olaf. I don't think that's important. I think what's important is watching him move around, walk around. That's the real joy, the real achievement in this is the walking. Watching him walk and move like Olaf is an absolute delight, and I'm sure that he's going to be incredibly well received, whether or not he speaks, back to guests. Now there's some commentary. There was some conversation that I saw. We posted something on Twitter, and we got a lot of responses, man, from a wide spectrum of opinions, all from how cute he is, and I want this, and this is amazing, to I'm terrified of this, and this is the beginning of the end. It's beginning of the Skynet takeover. Again, I get it. It's funny, but part of me is like, you're kind of right. You're kind of right. It is, because according to the Terminator series, they're like, we fell in love with AI. We fell in love with it, and it was great. And we wanted to put it in everything, and then it got too smart and too whatever. So maybe we should all just be. But anyway, okay. But no, this is just a cute little character thing. Now, whether or not, one of the things that people were saying was that it sucks that we can't get this at Disneyland or Walt Disney World. This is only for Disneyland Paris and Hong Kong. Having said that, though, let's remember that this is a robot. He's got bones. Olaf finally got his bones. He's got bones, and it's a skeleton, and then Olaf is just a skin on top of that skeleton. And possibly you could. Well, I would imagine though that this is custom built because he moves in a certain way that in the robotics would have to move in a certain way. But it's possible that you could just take the skeleton of this thing and then put a different skin on him. So while we're not going to get Olaf here in Disneyland, we might get something else. Maybe we get Stitch or a dwarf, a Snow White dwarf. I don't know how tall they're supposed to be, but again, I would say they're going to limit these things to something small like that. Let me go back on that. They're going to limit it to something small and also something that is not human, and even better, not an animal. So maybe a dwarf. Maybe a dwarf is impossible because the movements are too intricate. But you want to keep the variables to a minimum, I guess. But you're going to want to keep it small. It would be a whole completely different scenario if they were to build, a 6 foot a 6 foot animatronic, or free walking animatronic. That's just a completely different thing. They're probably still a very long way from that. But I can see them doing something like this if this goes well. The question that as I go off on tangents here, the question about that though, people are saying, well, they can envision a situation where this is one of those things that they put out there for the media and for the social clout and get people excited, but they don't actually. We're probably not going to see him very much. He'll be out there for a week and then they'll never see him again. Which, there is merit to that. There is merit to that point of view, that conversation, in so much as the what are they called? The BDX droids? I forget. The Galaxy's Edge droids. They did something similar, in terms of the social media and the Instagram posts about those droids. And there was a social media blitz for that, and they appeared in the parks for a minute, just for a minute. You can't see the BDX droids were around only for Star Wars Day, I think, and then right after that social media campaign, we have not seen them. I haven't seen them. Maybe we'll see them for Life Day, but we just haven't seen them. They don't come out. Also, something we haven't seen is that aforementioned Tinkerbell experience. You guys remember that she was in the thing, and you could actually have a conversation. This was years ago. Years ago they tested this. They tested this years ago, and we still have not seen this anywhere in the park. I don't know if there's a failure in the tech or something to that effect that didn't work as well as the initial tests were proving. But we never saw that. I thought they might install that Tinkerbell thing at Pixie Hollow. I thought maybe that's what they were doing, but no, we haven't seen that. There's another one. Was it Zootopia? Or was it? Yeah, I think it was a Zootopia character that they had delivering packages. They made a big deal about that. That was about 2 years ago, I think. That never went anywhere either. So there's merit to that conversation. However, the difference between those announcements, those demos, and this one is that they never promised them in the parks. They never said coming to a park near you. They never said this is coming to Disney parks in the summer of whatever. They said that for Olaf. They said Olaf is coming to Disneyland Paris and to Hong Kong. And I would imagine the timing is obviously correct for the opening of the Frozen Land. They're building a Frozen Land in Paris. So, that makes sense. They're going to want that. Oh, man. Show of hands. I want to hear just yes, no, thumbs up, thumbs down. How many of you would actually, not having, you don't live in Europe or anywhere near it. Those of you here living in the States, how many of you would this inspire to make a trip to Disneyland Paris just to see Olaf? Well, and to see the Frozen Land, which is pretty spectacular looking by all accounts. But how many of you would do that? Would you change your plans? I thought about it. Well, we'll wait and see. But I would think this is going to be a huge boon for the parks, for Disneyland Paris. But again, don't expect this to evolve quickly into other, 'cause some people are saying this is going to replace the meet and greets for, characters like, other, life-size type characters. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. People still like those human, the face characters. Those are still great. I love Mickey Mouse meet and greet just the way it is. I don't need him to be an animatronic, to be honest. I really don't. It would have to be considerably more advanced than this one. And this one is, super duper advanced. So that's how far away we are from that happening. But kind of, do a little thought experiment, something that I did. How far away do you think we are? Because somebody made a joke about the leap from this to Jurassic Park. It's comical, but it's actually you can make that leap in your head. Just imagine what the people in 1955 would have thought if they had said, instead of having that weird, the really grotesque You remember those? Well, maybe not remember, but have you seen the pictures of those grotesque walk around Mickey Mouse, Mickey and Minnie's from the 50s and the 60s? It was scary. It was just a bodysuit. No, it was just people wearing, tights or whatever, and then a giant Mickey head. And that was it. And it didn't even resemble Mickey Mouse at all. But from that to Olaf, that's a huge stretch. So I wonder what's the stretch from Olaf to a life-size dinosaur that you can go to Jurassic Park and see a life-size dinosaur running around. Obviously, it's not gonna eat, and it's not gonna kill you. So Jeff Goldblum, you're safe. But I mean, unless you subscribe to not the Jurassic Park theory, but the Terminator and or Five Nights at Freddy's theories, and then you may be scared. But I don't subscribe to those. I'm more of the Jurassic Park scale things. But I mean, how far away do you think we could be from that? How far away are we from Olaf to a T-Rex? 20 years? 10 years? 20 years? 50? It took them 50 years. No, 70 years. 60 years. We'll call it 60. I don't remember when they started, messing around with this idea, but it took 60 years or 70 years because they had Mickeys at the opening, right? I don't remember when Mickey started appearing in the parks. We'll call it 70. To go from a guy in a leotard and a hat to Olaf, that took 70 years. And technology, it has really sped up in those last 10 or 15 years in that regard. So can we express the next phase in equal speed or in equal slowness? Would it be another 70 years to get from Olaf to T-Rex? Or would it be just 15 years? Are we getting faster and smarter? I think we're probably getting faster and smarter, right? With AI tech and that kind of thing. Boggles the mind. It's a literal possibility. Having seen this in action, it's a literal, because I think that the T-Rex is actually the kind of thing that you could build that you could pull off, because the range of motion is different. I don't know if you could make him run though. Would we be able to see him run around? Probably not. Maybe you could. How far off are we from Walt Disney? And by the way, that was something that I had teased earlier. One of the questions you might ask, okay, so if they can do this well with Olaf and they can make him that accurate and that realistic, how come they couldn't do that with Walt? Because one of the complaints with Walt was that he didn't look like him. I mean, he moved like him, actually. He did move like Walt, but it was a very slow sort of, observable movement. It was more about the appearance. But it's just not fair. It's not the same. You cannot compare Olaf to Walt because he's snow. Olaf is just snow with sticks for hands. Obviously, it's a lot easier to make an animatronic look like Olaf than it is to make him. But again, how far off are we? There's another thing. Oh my God! In this this face mapping technology, have you seen the? Hopefully I can find the footage and get this in here. But on the same day, they talked about this new face mapping technology, and I can't even wrap my head around it. It makes sense of it, but how far away is that from getting put onto a Walt Disney animatronic? We can't be that far if they're doing that now. I want to hear what you guys think. Give me a. Are you afraid or are you happy? Is it cute or terrifying? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks guys for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. FreshBaked.